speaker, Mary Ellen.
Can you guys see me?
We can hear you.
Okay, my name's Mary Ellen. I'm an addict. Obviously, I'm pretty nervous, and that is to be expected. First of all, I want to say welcome to you, Paul. You're the most important person here, and congratulations to everybody who took time. I want to start off by saying how grateful I am to the newcomers and to all the people who are here, but how thankful I am to my predecessors, because without you guys, I would not be up here today. I'm going to set my timer now. Okay, I'm going to start with reading to kind of like center myself a little bit, And what I am going to be reading is something my sponsor has made me read about 20 times. And that is the triangle of self-obsession. So I'm going to start here. Okay, so it says, for most people, growing up is a natural process. As addicts, however, we seem to falter along the way. We never seem to outgrow the self-centeredness of the child. We never seem to find the self-sufficiency that others do. We continue to depend on the world around us and refuse to accept that we will not be given everything. We become self-obsessed. Our wants and needs become demands. We reach a point where contentment and fulfillment are impossible. People, places, and things cannot possibly fill the emptiness inside of us, and we react to them with resentment, anger, and fear. Resentment, anger, and fear make up the triangle of self-obsession. All of our defects of character are forms of these three reactions. Self-obsession is at the heart of our insanity. Resentment is the way most of us react to our past. It is the reliving of our past experiences again and again in our minds. Anger is the way most of us deal with the present. It is our reaction to and denial of reality. Fear is what we feel when we think about the future. It is our response to the unknown, a fantasy in reverse. All three of these things are expressions of our self-obsession. They are the way that we react when people, places, and things, past, present, and future, do not live up to our demands. I'm going to stop there, and then I will keep reading later. So I want to start off by saying my clean date is 8/5/22. God willing, in 3 days, I will have 3 years. I want to talk a little bit about what it was like. So what it was like for me, I guess I'll just start a little bit with childhood. My childhood was not the best. I come from a home with no mother. I grew up with my dad, who was a single father who was also addicted. And like a couple years ago, if I would have stood up here and shared, I would have said my dad did the best he could. And what I know now is he didn't. And that's okay. He did the best that he could with the tools that he was given, which is a little bit different. And what I know is like basically what it looked like for me growing up. By the way, I'm from St. Louis. Thought I should mention that. What it looked like for me growing up is like not really having food in the fridge, always a new lady at the house, a lot of drugs, not sure if I'd be able to like get up to go in the bathroom or if they were going to be in there doing their thing. It was hard, and I remember not being able to be a child. I always hated being told to go outside and play because I was just in this constant state of fear of like, where was my dad? What was going to happen next? I never could just like be. I was always in this state of worry as a kid. And that manifested a lot for me as I grew up into my addiction, and even like sometimes now. So what I will say is I was that person who swore that they would never smoke cigarettes, that they would never drink or do drugs like many of us say, and that quickly changed. But what I will say, before I ever touched drugs, I had an addiction, and it wasn't drugs. It was having a boyfriend, boys. And I found myself at a really young age, just like, I guess because I really wasn't given love from the adults in my life, I realized that I could like seek that out from a man. And that worked until it didn't. Basically, like what it was like for me, I am 26 years old. I quit using drugs for the first time when I was 21, and my addiction progressed pretty quickly. I never had much of a party stage. It was like straight to the hard drugs. And what it was like for me, I guess I'll talk about what it was like the first time using. I am super nervous, you guys. I hope I'm doing okay. Okay. So, you know, it all started with like boys, right? And heartbreak. And I remember I was with someone, and I was in a basement in Northside St. Louis, and there was like this powdery substance, and the guy was like, "Do you want to try this?" And I said yes. And my life after that, basically until I came here to Portland, was a complete blur. It was like when I did that substance, all of the overthinking, all of the mess, all of the living in fear from my brain was gone. I felt safe, but I wasn't safe. I was like basically living a lie through this substance. And then quickly I realized that if I continued to use this substance, if I didn't continue to use it, I was going to get sick. And as we all know, or any of us heroin addicts in here know, that sucks. And that went on for a really long time. Part of my story is me and my dad, we used together. That was really hard for him. And it was something that, I don't know, something that till this day I don't really understand, but it was something that happened. Another big part of my story was selling Kirby vacuums. Sorry, Abe. And that is something that went hand in hand with my addiction, and I was actually pretty good at it. I was the girl, and I would like come up to the door, and I would knock on the door, and I would tell these people that I was going to clean their carpet of no charge if we could just show them this vacuum cleaner, aka the Kirby, the best vacuum cleaner there is. And when I tell you, like, I was going through people's medicine cabinets, I was taking money, I was doing all the things, and they were letting me run this little, whatever that van is, the Astro van or whatever. They were letting me drive it. They shouldn't have been. So, yeah, and like I would always move from like town to town in Missouri, because part of my story is like the geographical change. Like I always thought I could switch partners or move to a different city and just get a new job under a different Kirby distributor, and that I would be fine, but they would always let me go. I have no idea why. And now to Portland, Oregon. I had a friend who I'd obviously sold Kirby's with, and she was like, "Hey, you can come down here and you can get off of this substance that you're using, and you can start using this other substance. You won't be sick anymore." And I was like, "That's great, but can I bring my boyfriend?" And she was like, "Yeah, sure." So we got on a Greyhound bus and we come down here. And that Greyhound bus ride was not fun. I was not feeling it. we get down to where the old Greyhound station was. I think it was off of like 6 or wherever that is, the old one. And as soon as we get off, they're like, do you want to buy some crack? And I'm like, absolutely. Absolutely. And so I did. And we came down here and we were like at some hotel. It was like Tualatin, bougie. I was like, oh, it's fancy down here. It was like 2 Motel 6s next to each other. And then I started using this new substance that I really had done here and there. And what I will tell you guys, mental health and recovery is real. And your girl, we got it. And this substance that I was using, it did not mesh well with my mental health. And what I will tell you is like, the other drug was my drug of choice, but this substance brought me to my knees very quickly. The end of my disease looked like me shaving my head bald, thinking that I was being attacked by bugs or parasites. I also thought people were trying to kill me, and I was running down MLK here in like, I think I was wearing like a scarf as a dress. I was running down MLK thinking people were like chasing me or looking at me or whatever, and that was what it looked like for me at the end. A lot of you guys know I came into these rooms with no hair. I was wearing wigs. I was doing the whole thing. But like, how did I first get clean? So I ended up, obviously, within the first month here, I had some legality stuff that I didn't handle back home. And within a month of being here, I was arrested for being a fugitive on the run. And I remember when I saw that, I was like, that's kind of cool. I was like, she's pretty badass for that. And obviously I wasn't. And I actually got arrested while I was going door to door selling Kirby's. That was interesting. And I ended up going to jail, and jail is a part of my story. I never did like prison time or anything like that. But you know what sucks? Being a controlling person and being in jail. Whew. Whew. I was not the fun girl in jail. I just wanted to be on the phone, see what my boyfriend was doing. And like when you're in jail, you can't control anything outside of those walls, and I didn't like that. So I remember that being a really miserable time for me. What I know is like I got out, I kept using, I lost my job, my Kirby job, and I ended up moving into a homeless shelter off of MLK. It was the Walnut Park homeless shelter. And I remember someone from that shelter taking me to my first NA meeting, which was the Miracles Club. I do want to mention, I was not familiar with the program of Narcotics Anonymous. However, my dad, who I spoke about earlier, who did use most of my life, there were times in his life where he would get clean and like move into, they call them Harris houses. They're like halfway houses here. He would get clean and he would like start going to AA meetings. And I'm not gonna lie, he said that the people in NA were too fucked up. I wish he could have made it here. But he would like say all these recovery sayings to me when I was a teenager. And honestly, I didn't want to hear anything that he had to say, because I was hurt and I was wounded, and it didn't matter if he got clean or whatever, it would never last. And I remember always being able to like go in his top left drawer, and I would find like Brillo, and I would be like, oh, he's doing that shit again. And yeah, so I knew like what rooms were. I remember like meetings, but it wasn't until I was in that homeless shelter and someone took me to Miracles Club that I experienced my first meeting. I was loaded. I don't remember anything that happened in that meeting. But I remember like having a safe space to sit. So, sorry, distracted. I don't know, I kept going back to Miracles Club. I stayed in that homeless shelter. I did not get clean. Moved to a sober living house, was still like smoking weed or doing different drugs here and there. And then on October 22nd of 2019, I'd probably been down here a little less than a year, I got a call that my dad was found dead in a bathtub from a fentanyl overdose. And like that call, like hearing that like you're pretty much your only family member, your dad was like found dead. And I'm like so consumed with like myself. It was heartbreaking. And that was one of those times where I was like, I will never use drugs again after this. And I did. So yeah, that was just a really important part of my story, because that was when there was like this, like for the first time I was like, okay, maybe I should do something different. Because this shit is real. And sorry if I'm cussing a lot, I do. And so anyways, that was heartbreaking. And then like I think this is when my God, my higher power, who I call God, started to work in my life. I kept going to those meetings. You know, me and my boyfriend were kind of arguing, and I ended up at this women's meeting. I don't remember exactly which one it was. It was noon, kind of over in the Hollywood area by that Trader Joe's. I remember seeing you there. And I made some connections with some women, and for the first time in my life, I left a relationship, and I got into this program. And I'll just say it, this program was called the Recovery Mentor Program. Until this day, even though I did not stay clean after that program saved my life. And there was this woman, she's in the room with us right now, and I remember going in there with like my wig on. I was ready to like, I just wanted her to like me, you know? And the first thing she said to me, she said, well, you're just a little whippersnapper, aren't you? And I was like, yeah. So then I like go back to my room on my little Android phone, and I'm like, and I'm like looking up what the definition of that word. And I was like, oh, okay. Okay, so this is what we're doing. And I decided that she hated me. And also, like, I didn't have a mom. I was one of those people who's like, I don't like women. Weird, because look at all these women I have here with me today. So amazing. And, like, what I know is, like, that woman who I was telling you guys about, she called me on my shit. And I didn't like it. And what I know is like all of that stuff, like it helped me and it saved my life. Because no matter how much I was rejecting those things that she was saying, or I didn't believe it, like now it all makes sense. So thank you. Anyways, so I get into this program, right? I do not stay clean through this program. And what I will say is, like, relapse is a part of my story. It does not have to be a part of your story. And I don't want to stay in the mess too long. So I want to fast forward to my last relapse and what was different. And that relapse took place on August 4th of 2022. That was the last time that I got loaded. I also want to bring up that during one of my relapses, I ended up finding out that I was pregnant at Hooper Detox, and I was like, I'm never going to use. I'm going to be the mom that I never had. And while that's not the perfect story that ended up happening, I am the mom that I never had.
That's right.
I gave birth to my son, Giovanni. He's 3 years old now. I love him with all of my heart. And what I will say is having a child when you were not really parented was the hardest thing I've ever had to go through. Also, so was postpartum. Like, having a child by myself without the other parent present at first was probably one of the hardest things that I've ever went through. And one of the moments that I want to bring up was, like, having this baby and, like, having to walk with my son to his first doctor's appointment. I'm, like, probably almost 60 pounds overweight, and I remember just, like, sobbing, holding this thing and being like, how am I going to do this by myself? And I did it, and it worked out. So, oh my God, I keep looking at this timer. Thank you. So, my last use, something changed, and what happened is I came in here a liar, I came in here dishonest, I came in here self-obsessed, self-absorbed. I'm still not perfect at times, but when I used that last time, so there was something that happened, like, in my gut. I felt it, and I was like, I have to tell somebody, and I did. And what this program has given me is it's a conscience, and I didn't have that before. If I'm doing something wrong, I feel it, and I get honest about it. Immediately, almost too much so. And like, what does my life look like now? My life is a lot different now. So yeah, I have an amazing son. I'm in nursing school. Like, who would have ever thought? I came here, high school dropout. I dropped out freshman year. I came down here and got my GED through outside in. I thought I'd for sure lost all my brain cells from using. And I passed the GED without any studying and went to school. And I actually figured out that I'm actually pretty good at school. And there's a lot of things that I like. So yeah, I'm in school, and recovery is my life. Like, I'm 26 years old. I never had much of, like, a partying phase or anything like that. And, like, I'm so grateful that I get a chance to, like, grow up in these rooms. Like, Narcotics Anonymous, this sounds crazy, but this is where I have fun. Like, coming to this meeting, like, we're all sitting here, like, on a Saturday night at a Narcotics Anonymous meeting. How cool is that? That I'm not out here doing what all these 26-year-olds are doing at a bar, at a club, whatever. Like, I get to be here with you guys. I go to raft and raves in recovery. I get to have fun in recovery. I get to bring my son to my home group with me every week. And I guess I want to talk a little bit about the steps. I really had a hard time for a long time connecting with, like, God, and I think the reason for that is like, after losing my dad, and kind of just like what my childhood looked like, right? Because I didn't want to jump too much into it, but I've been through all of it. I was taken advantage of at a really young age, and I was, like, honestly kind of, like, neglected. And in a way, I thought that I had kind of just been dealt a shitty hand of cards, and I couldn't, like, come to believe in something. And it's something that, like, I still don't do perfectly today. But it's something that I'm learning to do and that I'm trying to be consistent with. The steps. So what I want to say is, like, what I find, and I think I shared this in a meeting the other day, when I am doing the steps, which I usually am, and sometimes I will work the steps only when I'm in a crisis or when there's, like, some big crazy thing going on. When I'm working the steps consistently, even if that means only, like, working a couple questions a night or whatever, my life gets a lot easier and it's a lot better. My brain is blanking out. I feel like I can't even, like, think of the steps. I'm not gonna lie to you guys right now. But what I can think about is, like, people said that step 4 was really hard, like, making that moral inventory of ourselves, and I was so afraid of that step. Actually, I relapsed before that step, like, twice, but I finally did it with my sponsor. But really, the real kicker was step 6. Making a list of your character defects and how they impact you and how they impact other people. And for me, like, I had 33 of those motherfuckers. So it was a lot. And like now I'm currently on step 8. And I don't know about you guys, but if you've ever tried to make amends to somebody before you start your step 8, don't do that. Don't do that. Because I did that and it did not go well. But yeah, so the reason I read this reading, The Triangle of Self-Obsession, is because I think based upon the way that I grew up, that constant state of like living in fear and feeling like I wasn't safe, as I got older, I started to overcompensate for that. And what that means is like, because no one took care of me, I was going to take care of myself, like I was going to make sure that my needs were met, whether that was through drugs, men, or whatever. And honestly, some of that stuff carried with me to my recovery. And even like with my son, I really want to bring this up, even though this is a really hard one to talk about. This year, I found out, a lot of you guys know me, I'm a huge perfectionist, and I thought like parenthood would be like this perfect journey, and it hasn't been. It's been really hard. And this year, I found out that my son, Giovanni, was diagnosed with high-functioning autism. And my dramatic ass was like, he's going to be paraplegic. He's going to be in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. That was just like stuff that, and I was like calling my sponsor, like crashing out because like I did not know what I was going to do. And like my sponsor, God, she has walked with me through some shit this year. And like she told me, she was like, no matter what, like that little boy is perfect. Reframe that shit in your mind. He is perfect, and you were chosen to be his mother because you are the perfect mother for him. So I've been working on that, and it hasn't been a perfect process. What I know is like my son never has to like go in the fridge and there be nothing there. My son never has to go to sleep in a trap house. I don't break promises to my son. My son doesn't have to see me like sticking a needle in my arm, and he doesn't have to endure all the childhood trauma that I had to go through. And that is the most important thing to me. And also like co-parenting with his dad. That has been an interesting journey. And like what I know, my son is with his dad right now. And like his dad is clean, and his dad is present, and his dad shows up for him. And like that is a miracle in recovery, because a lot of people here know me and my baby daddy, we used to beef. We had problems. And like that is not my life today. I can't control other people, places, and things. And his recovery is his recovery, and mine is mine. So that's been an amazing thing. God, I probably said so many fucking times. So, what I will say, if you're new here, if I was all over the place and that didn't make any sense, what I will tell you, because I like to tell some people what to do, work the steps. Get a sponsor. You don't have to live like that anymore. You don't have to keep secrets. There are people in here who will love you. There are people in here who will show up for you. I didn't have family. I didn't have friends. And you guys are my family. And I mean that from the bottom of my heart. I get a chance as a 26-year-old to grow up in these rooms of Narcotics Anonymous. And what I know, my journey has just started, and I can't wait to see where I get in this journey here. I gotta read one more thing, okay? This is how I gotta wrap it up. Okay. So, this is also from the Triangle of Self-Obsession. In Narcotics Anonymous, we are given a new way of life and a new set of tools. These are the 12 steps, and we work them to the best of our ability. If we stay clean and can learn to practice these principles in all our affairs, a miracle happens. We find freedom from drugs, from our addiction, and from our self-obsession. Resentment is replaced with acceptance, anger is replaced with love, and fear is replaced with faith. We have a disease that, in the end, forces us to seek help. We are fortunate that we are given only one choice, one last chance. We must break the triangle of self-obsession. We must grow up or die.
Yeah!